Are you 21 years old and you still don't have a credit score over 700? You're doing something wrong. Good credit is made up of credit cards and loans. You don't have a credit card? Go get one. You don't have a loan? Go get one. Credit is determined by trustworthiness. The banks need to trust you to know that if they loan you money, you're going to pay it back. And the more times you do that, the more credit you'll have. In today's video, we're going to boost your credit. Let's get started. To get everyone up to speed, here's a quick primer on what credit is, why it's important, and how your credit score is calculated. Your credit score is essentially your grades that banks and lenders use to determine whether or not they'll lend you money and at what interest rate they'll charge you. So whenever you apply for an auto loan, a mortgage, a credit card, or even a student loan, your credit score is used to determine as to whether or not you're a worthy borrower based on where you fall on a scale of 300 to 850. The higher your score, the better you're thought to be at managing money, and so the lower your risk and interest rate. However, if your credit score is below 680, they will reject you outright or charge you exorbitant fees and interest because you are statistically more likely to miss payments or default. Even if you have no credit, bad credit, or simply wish to improve your credit score, there is a solution. Not to worry, there are some simple tricks that you could use to boost your score even higher. The first and important factor is your payment history. This accounts for 35% of your total score. This implies that you always pay your payments on time as agreed and that you never miss or are late on a payment. Because your credit is heavily weighed towards on-time payments, any late or missed payments will have a significant negative impact on your score. The amounts owed or credit usage has the second biggest impact, accounting 30% of your score. This is essentially a formula that compares the amount of credit you have available to the amount of credit you actually utilize. If you max out all of your credit cards or utilize practically all of your credit available to you, your credit score will suffer since you're considered as a riskier borrower. Third, we have the average age of your credit history, which accounts for 15% of your score. Overall, lenders believe that the longer your accounts have been active and in good standing, the more likely you are to be a responsible, experienced borrower. Fourth, we have the different types of credit you have, which account for 10% of your credit score. This means that lenders want you to have experiences handling a variety of loans to show them that you're a financially responsible adult who can handle credit cards, auto payment, lease payments, and mortgages, among other things. Finally, based on the amount of credit queries you have, the remaining 10% of your credit score is computed. Anytime you apply for a new line of credit, it will appear on your credit report as a hard inquiry. In general, the higher the amount of hard inquiries on your credit report, the worse your credit score will be. This is because lenders are concerned that you're actively seeking to obtain as much credit as possible, and as a result, you're viewed as a larger risk, lowering your credit score. Whether or not you agree with the entire system, it is what it is. And in my opinion, it is preferable to play the game in order to win than to avoid it altogether. Now that you understand how it all works, here are some strategies you can do right away to improve your credit score. To begin, go to creditkarma.com and sign up for a free account, or you can get your annual credit report and score for free once a year at annualcreditreport.com. If any websites ever ask you to pay for your credit report, simply say no, because there's no point in paying for something that's already free. You'll be able to browse over your reports and see which items can be improved once you've seen them. It'll usually be one of these to assist you improve your score. 1. You don't have enough credit, for starters. If you're new to this or haven't had enough time to open a credit card and make on-time payments, your credit score will most likely be low because you don't have enough credit history. Don't be concerned if this is the case. Later in the video, I'll go over potential solutions for this. 2. Perhaps you've missed a payment or 2 or 3 or more. If that's the case, any late payments like this will appear on your credit report for 7 years, which will be disastrous for your credit score. Fortunately, there are various workarounds. We'll go into that in a minute. And third, look to see whether you have any outstanding accounts or collections. If you do, I'm not going to lie, it's horrible. For those who aren't aware, this is what happens when you're so far behind on a payment that your lender just writes it off as a total loss and sells the debt to a third-party debt collection agency who will then phone you nonstop pleading with you to pay it off. Fourth, look to see if you have any big balances or credit lines that have been maxed up. When you charge or borrow the maximum amount you're authorized or extremely near to it, this is what occurs. When this happens, lenders perceive you as a higher risk because you would not be maxing out all your credit cards otherwise, and your credit score suffers as a result. Fifth, discover if your credit report contains any bankruptcies or foreclosures. This should be self-evident, but sometimes marks like this are left on for longer than they should be, and some people may have misinformation or their identity stolen as a result. So after you figure out what's impacting your score, you'll be able to pinpoint the problem and rectify it. However, if you don't have enough credit and want to improve your credit score right away, these will have the biggest influence. Being an authorized user is one of the most efficient life hacks available. This is what occurs when another person with a long credit history adds you as an authorized user on their credit card, and their credit history appears on your account. This is also known as credit piggybacking, since you can gain all the benefits of someone else's credit score without having to perform all the work yourself. Typically, I would advise parents to do this with their children if they want to give them a head start on their credit, or if they have someone they can trust explicitly. This is something you could do to assist them. You don't even have to give them a real card in order for them to make purchases. It could help you out if you're simply set up as an authorized user, but there are a few caveats. However, as the saying goes, if it seems too good to be true, it most often is. The first snag is that some credit cards are catching on, and as a result, they won't disclose the authorized user's account history to all 3 credit bureaus when calculating your score. As of now, it appears that Capital One, Discover, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo are the only credit cards that will carry over past history, while other credit cards will only start reporting when you're added to their account. So, this is essentially the same thing as going out and acquiring a new credit card. As a result, make sure to perform your homework ahead of time so that your account's history is visible. The second catch is that because everything will be transferred to your account, even late payments, you will be responsible for them. Make sure the individual who adds you as an authorized user has at least 3 to 5 years of credit history, no late payments, no large balances, and no other negative notes on their credit report that could lower your score in the past or in the future. Overall, if you have a close family member or friend who is willing to add you as an authorized user, this is a wonderful choice, and doing it right will instantly improve your score. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a replacement for developing your own credit, but it could help you get there faster. Pay down your debts until you have a usage rate of less than 10%. I believe that for the vast majority of people, this will have the most impact on their credit score in the least length of time. Remember that the amount you owe, also known as your utilization rate, accounts for 30% of your overall score. So if you keep a large debt on your credit card, it will have a significant negative influence. As a result, you have 2 possibilities in this situation. First and foremost, pay off your credit card bill. A higher score will normally appear within 14 to 30 days after this occurs. Fun fact, the credit rating system was just updated and now considers average account balances and utilization rule over time. That instance, if you have a history of maxing out credit lines or carrying a big balance, your credit score will suffer. So, if you can keep your credit card balances as low as possible or always pay off your credit cards in whole, you'll get the best score. That's easy for you to say, you might be thinking. Not everyone can pay off their credit cards. And I have to admit that's true. But if you're having trouble paying off your credit lines, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but getting a credit limit increase or getting a new credit card can sometimes help solve the problem. Your credit utilization rate is determined by the total amount of credit you have available. In other words, if you have $5,000 in credit and use all the $5,000, it's terrible since you're utilizing 100% of your available credit. However, if you create a new credit line and now have $10,000 in accessible credit but still owe $5,000, you're only using half of your available credit. It's still not great, but it's better than nothing. That is why, in order to raise your credit use, I propose opening many no-fee yearly credit cards as possible. Alternatively, you could request an increase in your overall credit limit from your credit cards. This will lower your overall utilization and will improve your score in the long run. Obviously, if you have a spending issue and those high limits are what got you into difficulty in the first place, don't do this if it means you'll be charging up your credit cards even more. However, if you have self-control not to spend any of that extra money, increasing your credit lines or obtaining new credit will reduce your current balance in comparison, although ideally, just make sure you pay off your credit cards in full by the due date, and you'll never have to worry about this. The third option for improving your score is to use something called Experian Boost. Now, here's the thing. When your credit score is determined, a big chunk of it is based on how many on-time payments you've made, your account history, and the type of loans you've received. However, this necessitates the use of numerous credit cards and timely payments on all of them. However, a new credit scoring algorithm called Experian Boost tries to correct this, and the vast majority of you will be able to qualify. By the way, none of this is sponsored. Experian Boost is a free opt-in tool that connects your accounts and tracks on-time phone and utility payments by adding them to your Experian credit file as a positive trade line. This will boost your credit score by giving you more positive credit history and more favorable trade lines. They also provide a slew of additional free products and services to anyone looking to improve their credit score. Except if you don't pay your phone and electric bills on time, which is a no-brainer, I would definitely recommend this. The fourth thing you can do is to improve your credit score is to clear your account of late payments and delinquencies. Remember that missing a payment or having something sent to collections will completely ruin your credit score. However, not all hope is lost if this occurs. If you are now behind on a payment, keep in mind that the longer you wait, the worse it will become. A 90-day late payment, for example, will have a considerably greater impact on your credit score than a 60-day late payment. Here's what you can do if you find yourself in this situation with late payments or any delinquencies. 1. Pay up any past due balances as quickly as feasible. This one will only become worse over time. So a 30-day late payment on your account is preferable to a 60-day late payment, even if it means you're only making the minimal payments. A minimum payment is far preferable to a late payment. 2. If at all possible, try to negotiate the terms of the debt in order to make your account current. This implies you might contact the lender and try to work something out if you're having trouble paying payments right now. Alternatively, you could try to arrange a payment in advance to bring your account up to date. The reality is that late payments like this are renowned for being completely charged off, with the bank receiving nothing in return. As a result, most business would rather bargain with you to get something in return than nothing at all. 3. If you've already paid off the bill but the late payments remains on your credit report, phone the lender and ask them to remove it as a favor. Now, to be clear, they are not compelled to do this in any manner, but you may have heard the expression, you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar, and I believe that sometimes just phoning and asking politely can go a long way. Finally, if all else fails, seek for mistakes in your report and contest it. If you discover any anomalies in the amount you owe, the due dates, or anything else, you can contest the late payments as erroneous. And if they can't prove everything is proper, they'll have to erase it. This should make a significant difference in your credit score in a pretty short period of time for only an hour's worth of work. Number 5, and maybe the most important of them all, do not close any of your accounts. This one is more of a don't do, but I've seen it happen a lot, And it's worth mentioning because your credit score is built using the average age of your account history, which starts with the oldest account. What happens if you close off those old accounts because you don't use them any longer? You're effectively eliminating your oldest account history, making it appear as if you have a lot newer account than you actually do, and your credit score will suffer as a result. So even if you don't use them, don't close off any of your old accounts as a precaution. If your credit card has no annual fee, keep it open and charge a $1 gift card to it every now and then to keep it active. If your card does have an annual fee and you don't use it enough to justify it, consider calling the credit card company and downgrading it to a free option so you keep all the credit history but don't pay an annual fee. You don't use the card enough to justify it, and you don't use it enough to justify it. Consider phoning the credit card company and downgrading to a no-cost option so you preserve your credit history but don't pay an annual charge. You'll help keep the credit score as high as possible for as long as possible by doing this and making sure all your credit cards are in good standing and active. Finally, I'd want to point out that there's no need to pay for credit repair services, and you should disregard any spam comments thanking someone for improving their credit score. All of this is completely free and takes less than an hour to do so. So there you have it. My recommendations and tactics for improving your credit score as much as possible in the shortest amount of time. When you accomplish this and raise your credit score above the greatest rates, you will be able to receive a mortgage loan or an auto loan or anything that you want to. You are able to apply for new credit cards, get a lot of free stuff, a lot of prizes, and this just opens a lot new options to save money that you wouldn't have if you didn't have a decent credit score. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I really appreciate it. Always remember to push that like and subscribe and notification buttons. Thank you so much for your help. Until next time.